Okay, so this evening we're working on Virabhadrasana, the warrior. We'll also be doing some Padvattanasana, some wide leg stretches, flank poses, and working on the spine and the hips. So it can be strenuous, but actually I'm pulling back because I have a hip injury, Achilles tendon injury on my right leg, not due to yoga. So don't do what my right leg or foot is doing, do what I'm saying. And hopefully you'll learn that I'm modeling how to not use a limb in a class, because that's an important thing to know for whenever you get a sore knee or a sore hip, how to balance. You're allowed to, obviously, if there's an injury, to do all the poses on one side and not the other. It's the only time in yoga we advise that, but we advise you to keep tuning in over the weeks, and as soon as the injured part can take a little bit more weight, transfer it back, but don't go full strength immediately, just very, very carefully. Okay, so if you'd like to lie down in Shavasana, as normal, we start with our 3-minute breathing space. It's lovely to see you all. A few people have been watching the last week's video around the world, so that's really nice to know. Canada, America, I think Spain was one. So relaxing down on your mat with a blanket underneath you, as comfy as possible is always a good idea. So as comfy as possible and as warm as possible. If you know you have a back problem, bend the knees first of all and just ease out the lower back by bringing the knees up to the chest so that the lower back actually has lots of room. It's not just collapse down onto the mat. If you have glasses on, do remove them. And for this beginning relaxation, let's put our eye pillows on if you have one. Very nice soft eye pillow. And then if your back feels iffy, you can keep the knees bent, or you put the feet about 2 feet apart, toes going outwards. And you can wriggle the toes from side to side so that the femur going into the socket around the hip, actually moving and relaxing that, and then flopping the toes outwards. Now I take the awareness to the shoulders. I tend to put weight through the head and just lift my shoulders and upper back off the ground and move them down a bit, and then widen out my shoulder blades. Move my fingers towards my feet, and then the hands go about a foot away from my hips, palms upwards. And then once we're more or less there, little wriggles and jiggles to see if you're comfortable. And hopefully the first bit always in your yoga practice is to come into this moment, stepping onto your mat, into this moment. And then remember, we do the 3-minute breathing space, which for most of you should be really well known or easily remembered, since we do it every time. And the first part of the 3-minute breathing space is to check in at the level of the mind. So how is the mind doing in this moment? What's it thinking about? What are its preoccupations? And then whatever you find, being as kind and gentle to yourself as possible. Trying not to be critical. Gently encouraging warmth and tenderness in your awareness. And then turn the awareness, if you can, to the emotional level. How are you feeling emotionally? And again, not being critical if possible towards whatever it is you're feeling emotionally. And if you're feeling anxious or worried or stressed, just be aware that maybe it's time to really take good, gentle care of yourself, because the world has lots of problems going on, and us burning out won't really help anything. So let's try to bring ourselves into as much equilibrium as we can by doing our practice. And that helps to bring clarity and clear thinking. So let's move then to the body, and could you scan the body and see where in your body, in this moment, there might be aches or pains or problems, twinges, discomforts. And again, very gentle, very tender towards your awareness of your body. Please don't beat yourself up. All right, and then the second part of the 3-minute breathing space is to be aware of the breath in this moment and the body breathing. So let's do that together. And notice where you're breathing, what's moving when you breathe, when you're being breathed. And following this breath, and this pause, and the next breath, and the pause. And yes, the mind wanders off as it does. Meanders away quite happily. And we simply come back to resting on awareness of the breathing. Okay, and then the final part is to incorporate awareness of the breath, the body, the emotions, and the mind, all together. Vast awareness of where we are on this mat, in the room that you're in this moment, here, now. And this is the awareness, hopefully we'll continue to be in as we start to do the physical practices of yoga. The asanas, the poses. Very present here now. So, wiggling the fingers and the toes a little, let's bring the legs to parallel. And breathing in, take the arms above the head. Stretch the arms behind you. And you can point the toes and you can bring the toes towards you. With the shoulders, you can imagine opening them out lower to the ground. Backs of the hands towards the ground. And the fingertips stretching away from the head. Nice long stretch. Okay, and then if you have a blanket on, if you have an eye pillow, just removing blankets, removing anything, put glasses on if you need them. I'm just going to continue working on the floor for a moment. Put your blanket somewhere that you might be able to reach it later on. And then I'd like you to, do you remember we used to do something called the spotty dog walk, which is alternate arm and leg raisers, and then down behind you, that arm behind you, and then the other arm, and then arm, leg, and arm down behind you. So I'm doing left leg, right arm, and then breathing in, right leg, left arm, and just keep doing that. The next time it's left leg, right arm, staying up, breathing into that, and imagining somebody's holding your wrist and your ankle and pulling them up towards the heavens. Relax the shoulders. Breathe out, release. And now the others. Right leg, left arm. Relax the shoulders, relax the face. But lift up those two limbs to the heavens. And then breathe out and release. And then bring the soles of the feet together with the knees out wide to either side. And just bounce the knees up and down a little. Stretching into the groin area. And the hands are still stretching away from you, behind the head, chin towards the chest. Eventually, with the fingers, keep them at maximum stretch, but relax the shoulders, relax the face. The heels are trying to come up as close to the torso as possible without obviously hurting your knees or stretching anything too painfully. Okay, good. And then just lie there for a moment. Tuck the hands clasped underneath the head. So resting in the lying down cobbler, Supta Baddha Konasana. The lying down bound angle pose. So with the hands behind the head, it's a nice heart opening across the chest, heart chakra opening. And remember, these moments of stillness in the poses are for the poses to work on us rather than us just moving forward, pushing, striving, struggling. We actually let the pose work on us, like putting needles in acupuncture and then resting while they work on. Okay, and then breathing in, bring the knees together. And then just swing them from side to side. So heels are still quite high up towards the torso as we just do the knee twists from side to side. And if you wish, you can look the opposite way. And if you want to have the arms out at Maltese crossed, you can do that too. Or you can keep the hands clasped behind the head. And then staying down on one side and looking the other way. And then breathing in, coming up and breathing out the other side and looking the other way. Okay, and then breathe in, come up. Put the hands on the knees, bring the knees up to the chest and do those circles. Good for digestion, good for the lower back. Big knee circles. And then circles the other way. Okay, and then can you just do, I call it a slide, where your heels are keeping just above the ground as you straighten and bend alternate legs. I've put the hands behind the head, clasping the hands, palms upwards underneath the head. So just beginning to warm up and use the abdominal muscles, back muscles, thigh muscles. Okay, and then rest for a moment. You can put the feet down wider than hip width apart, and then knock the knees together. Rest for a moment, close the eyes. And then let's do the cycling. So big exaggerated cycling in the air. Almost heel to floor, knee to chin. And you do it one way until it feels like, oh, I can't do any more. And then you reverse and do backward cycling. And you'll feel that it's engaging definitely the abdominal muscles and back muscles. And the legs. Okay, and then rest for a moment. Pause, no sudden movements. And then roll over to one side and come up. We just adjust the scope there. That's good. So Coming up, just a bit of easy warm up. Opposite knee to opposite, elbow to opposite knee to opposite elbow. And then just do some hip rotations. Easy slides from side to side. Nothing too mega, don't go down too far. And then if you're making circles one way, make circles the other way. With the hips. Imagine you've got a hula hoop. I could do with a hula hoop. Somebody in my class said they bought a weighted hula hoop. And that was really helpful for doing this kind of exercise, engaging these core muscles. Okay, and then just a gentle roll forward and come up, nothing major, just bending the knees and up, bending the knees and up. It's sort of yoga we'll be doing when we're 102, possibly really gentle. Nothing too vigorous. Okay. And then, oh, this is the fun bit. I'd like you to do the hip rotations and the other way. So you can make them really graceful by holding onto a wall. Be much more graceful. And do them the other way on that side too. And then turn and do the other side. And the other way. Good, coming back and just from side to side. Just to get this area around those, that ball and socket joint in the hip. Very good, shake out a bit. And then, surprisingly, we're going to be lying down on our front. So however you're lying down, make sure that obviously you can see me. So I'm going to be lying down sideways onto the video so you can actually see what I'm doing. But if you can have it so you're looking able, if you lift your head, you can see what I'm demonstrating. So you're coming down, and obviously if you've got glasses on, leave them. Forehead on the floor, and for a moment you're just resting. Top of the feet on the floor, backs of the hands on the floor. Back of the neck nice and open. Shoulders have probably travelled towards the ears like they tend to do, especially when they're worrying, when you're worrying about something. So rest for a moment. This one's a little bit uncomfortable for women on the chest. So if you feel it's too difficult, actually there is a trick where you put a towel underneath your lower rib cage, so that you've lifted that part up, which allows the chest more room. Quite a nifty trick, really. And then, still with the forehead on the floor, I'd like you to raise your right leg in the air and then down. You then left leg up and down. Right leg on the in-breath and down. And if you're wondering what to do with the feet, when you lift the leg, keep going, alternate legs. You can point the toes and just work with your breath. What I'm hoping for is that you're engaging that lower back, mid to lower back area, just above the buttocks. You'll feel some very specific muscles engaging there. And then what I'd like you to do is, when you've done quite a good number, you raise one leg in the air and you keep it there. So just kind of breathing into that, keeping that one leg up. Okay. And then when we've done that, I'd like you to place your hands underneath your torso. Okay, and then make fists with the hands so that the palms are facing into the body and your fists are sort of tucked in either side of the pubic bone, so that when you lift both legs together, you're kind of hinging on the backs of your hands. Okay, breathe in, lifting, engaging. Breathe out and down. Next one we do will be a bit longer. So up we go, locust. Shavasana. Really engage. Try lifting a little bit more if you think you can. And breathing out, coming down. Breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. Breathe in, have a rest. Breathe out. Then breathe in, lift. And stay there again, last one. And pointing the toes if you can, with the legs parallel to each other. And then eventually bringing the legs down, releasing the hands. You can place the hands up by the head with the forearms going in towards the center so that you can rest one cheek on the back of your hands as the hands are resting one on top of the other. Comfortably resting for a moment. And then rest on the opposite cheek. And be aware of how your neck is feeling. And then forehead to the floor, bring your hands back and tuck them under the shoulders, palms downwards, with the middle finger sort of peeping out. If you were looking from above, just peeping out from under the shoulders. And the elbows have a tendency to want to go out wide, but we keep them tucked in like a grasshopper. Keep the elbows nicely tucked in. Legs are parallel, and the tops of the feet on the floor. And then I want you to breathe in, nose along the mat, chin along the mat, away from you, and lift up, no weight through the hands, engaging back muscles. Keep breathing there and keep feeling that engaging. And you can even lift your hands off the floor to check that you are using the back muscles. Whilst you do that, you can check that you can move your shoulders away from the head. And the feet are still on the floor. And then breathe out, come down. Resting on the forehead. When you rest, you can just relax. The elbows can swing out a little. I don't want you getting tense in the shoulders or neck. By keeping the elbows tucked in when you're resting. Okay, and then we're going to go up full Bhujangasana, cobra. So tuck the elbows in, nose along the mat, away from you, chin along the mat, away from you, lift up, no weight through the hands first. And then push through the hands a bit so you're coming up into not necessarily a straight armed cobra, looking at the floor wall opposite, and then looking up at the ceiling if you feel comfortable with that, but checking that the shoulders haven't risen up towards the ears. And then breathing into the cobra. Remember the pubic bone, hips more or less stay on the ground. The back arch is middle, lower back, but without lifting the hips away from the mat, they stay stuck. Okay, so just breathing into that, not staying very long, breathing out, coming down. And then I want you to relax however you like. I tend to relax in the crocodile makrasana after a very strong cobra. So that would be my fingertips, my fingers crossing to the opposite shoulder, resting just on the shoulder. Both hands do that. And my chin rests on the cross section of the arms, The legs are out 2 to 2.5 feet wide, feet away from each other, and the toes pointing outwards. And then when you're in the pose, again, women have to be careful. The chest gets a bit of pressure here, but do what you can. And then moving the elbows away from you. So just being a sleeping crocodile in the mud, nothing to do. And hopefully, once you practice quite regularly, you get a sense of when it's time to move again, when the body is settled enough, absorbed the benefits, decent amount of time. Obviously, you could stay in this pose for half an hour if you're comfortable. But in a yoga session where we're moving towards a certain pose, asana after asana, pose after pose, we're gently nudging forward when we can, but not rushing. So I would think about now we can bring the legs back to parallel, forehead to the floor, swing the hands, sliding them along the mat to past the chest. Push to come up. Push to come up. That sounded like, if anybody knows Ivor the engine. Push to come, push to come, push to come. You've heard the engine, right? Push to come up, and then we're in the table pose. So face is looking down at the floor, face parallel to the floor. Hands hopefully are directly underneath the shoulder joint and knees directly underneath the hips. So just check, it's quite easy to be out of alignment like that, too wide. So just try and see what you can do. And if there's somebody doing yoga in the same room as you, it's quite handy if you ask them to check you from the side. They can see you. So here we are on the table. And what we're going to do is, I'd like you to lean back onto the feet and then bend the elbows, forearms on the floor, slide through the forearms with your head. Okay. And go into the bridge. Come back, sit back on your, so in the bridge, sit back on your heels, sort of in the hammock as you come through. Okay. And then bridge. So a little bit adapted, a sort of low crouching cat coming through, making the bridge, looking up to the heavens. Then making the bridge. Coming through, chin to chest, sitting down, through and up. So once you get the hang of it, it's bridge, sit back, making the hammock. As you slide through to the front, look up, then go into the bridge and sit back. Slide through as you move into the hammock. Bridge, sit back. Slide through. Okay. And then you can add to that, so just pausing again. Oh, you've probably got sore wrists from all that wrist work, so rotate the wrists a bit. Okay. Work, a little bit of rub around the wrist. So just watch me if you can see me easily on your screens. So you can adapt that again as watch. You can come back and through and into cobra and then swing back. So that's what we're going to do now. So it's table and slide the hands forward into cobra, swing back, arms stretch, pull the hands back towards you, table, and then slide the hands forward, cobra, and then back into that long rabbit stretch. So table, slide the hands forward, cobra, keep the elbows tucked in, push to go back, your heels, the hands towards you, table, slide the hands forward, cobra, sit back on your heels, long stretch, slide the hands towards you, table, last one, slide the hands forward, cobra, breathing out, sitting back on the heels, fingertips stretching away from you, slide the hands towards you, come up into kneeling. Okay, that was fairly straightforward. Okay. You can always check the video later if you're not sure on that sequence. So after doing that, we're going to do threading the needle, which is so good for the shoulders and some spinal twist in there. So it's be working kidneys, internal organs as we do the twist. The table is, threading the needle is bringing the hand through until this opposite shoulder lands on the ground. So really threading through. So the forearm on my right hand is on the floor, palm downwards. Okay. And my left hand is the needle threading through, is the thread threading through the needle. Okay. And then when I'm as far as I can get, I try and put my left ear on the ground. And see if you can just push those left fingers a little bit further away. And then breathing in. Okay, pausing with both forearms on the floor. You can put the crown of the head on the floor for a moment, just resting, breathing, forehead on the floor, crown of the head. And then we'll do the opposite side. So it's left forearm on the floor. Breathing out. You take the thread through the hole in the needle, and you bring the right shoulder down to the floor. Turning to get the right ear onto the ground, taking the right fingers as far away from you as you can, really pushing the thread through the needle. And kind of breathing into that, just checking how it feels. Okay, and then coming back up to table, just sit back for a moment so you can see me. And I just want you to check, so it's that way of doing it where we've got the forearm on the floor, like so, and we come through. And the other way to do it is to just kind of have the hands quite close in and watch. I thread the needle and then I kind of look through my armpit up into the heavens. And I prefer the sort of standard version with the forearm on the floor, but you can play with both and see how you feel. So when you've done that a moment, I'd like you to clasp the hands in familiar clasp behind you. And you're kneeling if that's comfortable. If it's uncomfortable, adapt by putting blocks or cushions on your heels or bringing your toes up and sitting with your heels a bit higher up. So we're just resting for a moment and the hands are clasped behind us, familiar clasp, and I just want you to, if you can, breathe in, lift the arms up behind you, keeping the torso perpendicular. Okay, so see what you can do. And of course, some people's shoulder joints are stiffer than others, so just do your best. And you'll feel your shoulder blades coming together. Good. And I'd like at this point you to bring the chin down to the chest. So as you do that, pull the shoulders down towards the floor using your arms. pushing your clasped hands towards the floor. Okay. So bringing the hands up, shoulders stay down, chin stays towards the chest, hopefully torso stays perpendicular. And then you probably had quite enough, so release. Let the arms swing a minute. You could even give yourself hugs one way and then cross over and hugs the other way. Okay, so right arm on top, hug. Left arm on top, hug. Right arm. Try and even reach your shoulder blades if you can. Left arm. Okay, good. Shake out the arms again. And let's do the unfamiliar clasp. So remember, this is normally our familiar clasp, it just clasps without thinking about it. Unfamiliar is you notch down with one hand down and then click in. Feels really weird at first. And then we'll do that again. So lifting those arms up. Okay. Then wiggle and jiggle the shoulders down. And if it helps, you can move the clasped hands down a little. Got the shoulders down, then lift the arms up. And you'll feel the heart center, front of the chest, middle of the chest opening. Then chin down to chest. So you're stretching the muscles over the side of the neck. And continuing to encourage shoulders down, but arms up. Okay. And it's very easy in this one to lean forward a little with the torso. It's not a major problem, but just, try to keep aware of that. Okay, and then release. Wonderful. Wonderful. Hopefully you found that wonderful too. So next, one of my favorites is, I call it the dog with the fire hydrant, but it's not meant to be called that. It's meant to be called Vraghyasana, the tiger pose, really. And it's in table, but lifting one leg. So you look up, and then the knee comes through towards the forehead on the out breath, and then in breath, leg up, looking forward. And the trick is not to do this, not to turn the pelvis like so. The pelvis, hopefully, on the back of the pelvis, we're hoping to balance a tray of china teacups. Okay, so the leg can lift and you look forward and up, and then on the out breath through. And then the next lift, just stay up there. And it's almost like you have to remember to drop the right hip a little, because it wants to go up in the air, it wants to tilt. And relax the shoulders down towards the earth. They want to kind of go up to your ears as well. They think that's helping. And try to look forward or up if you can. Lovely. And then that's probably enough. Coming through, trying to get the knee towards the forehead. If you find that hard work, want to rest the foot on the floor, do. It's more the stretch in the back, in the neck. Okay. And then release. So having done the tiger on that side, Vraghyasana on that side, we're going to do the other side. And just check your table again, that you're nice and steady. And let's breathe in, take the left leg up without tilting the pelvis, and look up or forward. Okay, nice open throat. And then breathing out, coming through. And then breathing in, up. So the tiger is potent, full of energy. And I think that's where they got the word Viagra from, because that's the word for tiger in Sanskrit. Viagrasana. So a few on the breath, breathing out, knee to forehead, breathing in, leg up. And then on the next lifted leg, just staying there, breathing. Again, remembering you could slightly tilt the left hip. Drop the shoulders, don't let them come towards the ears. I'd say 20 seconds, 30 seconds max in this pose. And then breathing out, again, bringing the knee towards the forehead. And really rounding the spine up into that wonderful bridge. And breathing into that. Lovely. And then bring the knee, that knee back to join the other knee, sit back to a kneeling pose, hands on the thighs, palms downwards, have a pause, because that was quite a lot of work. Crown of the head lifting upwards. And while we're here in this kneeling pose, we could actually do a little bit of neck work if you feel up to that. So neck work, as we've done before, you can go from side to side. Stretching to the right. So the left part of the neck, so go stretch and stretch. From the head to the left. Right side of the neck, getting a good stretch. And then take the chin to the chest and gently roll the chin over to the right and look over your right shoulder, look up at the opposite wall and drop on the out breath. And roll to the center and then all the way over to the other side. Lifts up from the left shoulder and looks at the opposite wall. And then breathe out, it drops and rolls to the center. And then when the chin is at the center, just let the whole head hang. So you've got 6 to 8 pounds worth of weight in that head. And you're just stretching around the very, very strong muscles around the neck and upper shoulder as the chin rocks a little from side to side. If the center of the chest was 12, you kind of go 130 to 1030, rocking. Rolling that chin in a little semicircle from side to side on your chest. And then eventually just bring the head up, facing forward, close the eyes, pause. Nothing to do for a moment. We're going to come up to standing, so just be aware of that. So take some nice steady breaths. You might want to deepen the breathing to help you get enough oxygen so that when you do stand up, you don't feel a bit dizzy. So breathing in through the nose, and if you want to, breathe out through the mouth. Last one, breathe in. And then to come up, I put the hand onto the floor and the feet onto the floor, so in a crouch, and then gently, gently coming all the way up. Comfortably. And then can you breathe in, go all the way up with the arms, to clasp the hands together, turn the palms upwards to the ceiling, stretch. Breathe out, down, the arms come down at the sides, and then again up. Clasp the hands, palms to the ceiling. Breathe out, down. Clasp the hands, up, palms to the ceiling. Breathe out and down. Clasp the hands, breathe in and up. And breathe out and down. Okay, good. So if you still have your blanket on your mat from your corpse pose at the beginning, that was fine. Excellent for what we needed to do up till now, but now we need to use the slightly tacky, stickiness of our mats, because we're going to do warrior triangle, warrior triangle. So Virabhadrasana, Trikonasana. I'm going to do it using the right foot first. So I would, if I were you, stand at the back of your mat and then do quite a good step forward. Now, remembering I'm protecting my right Achilles tendon, so I don't necessarily do what my right foot is doing. But you want to be quite wide, and I'd like you for the moment to have your legs straight. And then I'd like you to bend the front knee, check that it's going over your second toe, and that your pelvis is not flat on to the wall, like the wall behind me. It's actually just like I roll that away. And then breathe in, bring the arms up to shoulder level, but drop the shoulders. Engage, if you know how to engage the pelvic floor, muscles that pull up, perineum, muscles that you use to stop peeing, pulling those up deep inside you. Pulling, engaging here at the belly button area, those core muscles in a little, not too much. And then breathe out, go down into the warrior. So remember, we don't lean into the warrior, we're just dropping that knee till it's parallel. Hopefully that upper thigh becomes parallel to the floor. And then check the hands, forward, back, backhand always traveling, bring it in line. Okay, check that the torso is upright and not leaning. Crown of the head lifting upwards. And then look along the length of your front arm into infinity to the horizon. Invincible, strong warrior. Virabhadra, the warrior. Virabhadrasana. And then have a look around while you're in this pose, but don't sort of wobble too much while you're doing that. See if you need a block and where your blocks are, because you might need it on the outside of that right foot in a minute, because we're going to go from this into quite a wide Trikonasana asana. So straighten that front leg. Okay, lift up the upper torso, so the rib cage is well away from the pelvis, nice open space in your belly area. And then coming into the triangle. So technically both legs are straight, but I'm just protecting my right leg a little, my ankle. Okay, so you're bringing this hand down towards a block, towards the leg, towards the floor, whatever feels comfortable for you. And hopefully both hands are up, are in a straight line, one going up to the heavens, the left arm, with the palm facing the same direction that your head is looking, face is looking. Okay, breathing into that. Hopefully that's okay. Probably feels a little bit of hard work. Your back toes are coming in slightly to the center. Okay, to come out of this, I would breathe out and bring the hands down, bend the back leg down onto the floor, turning the foot. Okay, and then use your hands to help push your foot back, your right foot back. Okay, until you're ready to bring both feet together, and the knees, push hands on knees to come up, protecting the back. So that was on the right side. And then we'll do the left side. So because I want to see you to be looking towards the screen, I've turned to the other end of your mat. At home, depending on how confident you are with these poses, how much you know how to do them, you could always just do them facing the other way. So this time we'll take the left foot forward. And again, remember what my right foot is doing is adapting to the pose as much as possible, so don't necessarily follow it. So you want a nice wide gap between your front and back foot, your right toes coming in a little, your left toes pointing, 12 o'clock is there through the center of your mat, forward, that's where those toes are pointing. Then take that bent knee here and bend it further over that second toe. If it's going over the toes, it's going past the toes. If you can see me, that's what mine is doing. That's a no-no. And you need to make sure that that foot is further away from the back foot. Push it forward. Okay. Ideally, we want a right angle here behind that front knee. Okay. And then breathing in, take the arms up. And instead of coming down into the warrior, we can try it just being in it. We've just bent the knee and we're in it, and the arms come up. Check the arms now, front and back. Check the shoulders are down, look into over the front left arm to infinity. Breathing into Virabhadrasana. So remember, the torso is upright as much as possible. It's not leaning over your front leg. Okay, and then from there, I'm just going to adapt because my leg is needing a bit more of a break, a bit more rest. So from there, I'd like you to straighten both legs and go down into the triangle. And looking forward, or even looking up, if that's manageable for you. And if you feel that you're a little bit wobbly, a little bit unstable, you can do what I just did. I heel-toed, my feet a little bit closer together, because remember, technically the triangle has the feet leg length, your leg length apart, and the warrior is longer than leg length apart. So joining them together like this makes it a bit tricky. Okay, so still in the triangle. Don't let this top shoulder, if you can help it, drop forward. Keep making sure it's above your underneath hand and shoulder. Okay, good. And then bend that front knee, and this time we'll come upwards. We'll come out a bit upwards. So push on your front left knee, coming up, and then heel toe, your feet together. Just resting my right foot, but you're bringing both in together. Okay, pause for a moment. You might like to shake out the feet. How are we doing for time? We're doing well. Shaky, shake, 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 shaky, shake, shake, shake. Okay, good work, everybody. We've got about 10-15 minutes of practice still to go, of poses, before we do the breathing work, and then the deep relaxation. So just roll those shoulders a bit, and roll them forward a bit. And then, if possible, I'd like you to just look at me. So again, I'd like you to go wider than I can go. I just don't want a lot of weight going through that right ankle for me. So I'm quite narrow. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down opposite hand to opposite foot. Breathe in, come up, and then opposite hand to opposite foot. And when you've got into position down there, you can turn the head and look up at the hand. That's palm is facing away from you. Okay, you breathe in to come up, you breathe out to come down. You breathe in to come up. If you can, keep Mula Bandha and middle core lock. That would be good. Abdominal lock. But it's probably asking rather a lot of you to do both of those as well. I'd be very happy if you could just keep the rhythm of the breathing. But don't let the abdominal area collapse as you go down, because you want those muscles to be, it's almost like you want them to be a hammock to your internal organs of neck and belly. Okay, the next down, I'd like you to stay down, whichever way it is, and look up to your hand in the heavens. Until it feels like you've had enough, which is probably about now. Breathe in, come up. Breathe out opposite sides and stay for about the same amount of time. Looking up, breathing into it. Good, going as deep or not so deep, depending on what feels best for you. Straight legs if possible. Okay. And then to come out, breathe in, come up, drop the hands down, shake a little. And I'd like you to turn so that you've got your right leg in front of you along the mat. And again, I'd like you to go a little bit wider than me if you can. And we're doing Parsvattanasana. Okay, so I'd like you to breathe in, go up. Breathe out, take the hands behind you, unfamiliar clasp if you can do it. Breathe in, look up, and breathe out, go down. Long belly, long wide open belly over your leg, head towards the floor. Okay, and then if you feel a bit too wobbly, you can lower the hands and take your other foot out to the side, making it a wider stance. It gives you more stability, and then go back to unfamiliar clasp and lift the hands up. Okay, so the hands are going up to the heavens and your crown of your head is going down to the foot. And technically, though you probably won't like it, your front leg is straight. both toes are facing the direction that your right toes are facing. Okay, so it's like we're on tram lines. And then breathe out, lower the hands. Breathe in, bend that front knee as you look up and push with both hands onto that front knee to come up. And then you can simply turn the legs, and we'll do it the opposite way, okay? So work out from the last position where you want that back foot to be. Okay, I'm not going to do very much with that back foot. It's my right foot now. But you want to be in tram lines as though both legs were on about 10 inches apart, both feet. Okay, and then turn, look along the length of your mat, clasp your hands in familiar clasp. Breathe in, extend the rib cage away from the pelvis, and then breathe out, forward, over that front leg. So trying to keep both legs nice and straight. I'm not doing it, it's it would compromise my Achilles tendon, but you've got, as we did on the other side, both legs straight into that lovely Shavasana. And to come out of it, you can bend the front knee, put both hands onto that knee, turn the feet to the front, and walk heel toe to come up. Well done. Oh, shake out the arms. Okay. And forward a little bit, and then back a little bit, and forward a little bit, and back a little bit, and forward a little bit, and back a little bit. So, the next pose is I'd like to step forward with the right foot, left foot behind you, but more behind the front foot than on a tram line. I'd like you to breathe in, and I'd like you to just bend the front knee a little, okay, and up. So you're just breathing in, breathing out, bend the front knee, breathe in, come up, look up if you can, breathe out, go down, breathe in, come up, breathe out, go down. I'm not going down very far because of my ankle, but you can go down further if you like. You can widen the feet out if you like. Breathe in, come up, and then obviously breathe out, take the hands down, turn, so we can do the other direction. Okay. So you're in the same foot stance as for normal triangle or normal Virabhadrasana. Breathe in, take the arms up, bend that front knee. Breathe in, come up. Breathe out, go down. Breathe in, come up. Breathe out, go down. So far, guys, this is the one that I'm most not able to do with my ankle hurting. So this is not hopefully what you're doing. It's working for me, protecting that back ankle. Okay, and then straightening up, turning to the front, dropping the hands. And then last one is I'd like you to breathe, turn, right foot is in front, breathe in, go up, breathe out, bend the front knee, breathe in, arms up, breathe out, take the hands behind you, clasp, breathe in, lengthen up, breathe out, over into Shavasana, breathe in to bent knee at the front, stretch up, breathe out, clasp behind, step forward with your left foot, step back with your right, quite a way back, longer than I'm doing. Okay, and in the foot position for sort of middling between warrior and tram lines, clasp behind you for a moment. Straighten the front leg and then breathe in, arms go up, breathe out, bend the knee. Breathe in, lengthen the arms up, breathe out, bend the knee. If you're going over your toes, you need to put your foot further forward at the front when you bend the knee. Don't want the knee to go over the toes. Breathe in, open up. And then eventually breathe out, bring the hands behind you, straighten that front knee, and then breathe out, go down into Parsvottanasana. Okay. Hands clasped and lifting up behind you as you go into that lovely long stretch. And then eventually bending that front knee, pushing with your hands on your knee, come up and release the legs. Okay, shake out the shoulders. I will give you a picture of this sequence so you can look at it and enlarge it and see exactly what I'm doing if you're not quite sure what we were doing there. So what we want to do next, and I'm not going to do it with my right foot, but I'll do it with my left, is I want you to step forward onto just your left leg. Okay, so that you're balancing on that left leg. And then as you do that, if you can, bring your, we'll start with bring your hands up and breathe out. So you end up in the T pose. Okay, so you've got your hands going forward. Hopefully in line with the back leg, but not always the case. It's hard to get that back leg up high enough. Then breathe out and down, and then do the other side, which I can't do. So we'll be putting the weight through your right foot. Hands breathe in, hands above you. Breathe out, lift your left leg. Lift your left leg up behind you and bring your hands down in front of you in that nice T shape. So looking like this, but on the other side. Okay, good, nearly there. I'd like you to come back to Tadasana, the mountain, standing nice and steady. Drop the shoulders. This is the last pose. Great, we're right on time. That was quite a lot. We're managing to fit in a lot these last few sessions into our class time. So, do give me feedback if you find it a bit fast or you'd like more time in each pose. So standing in the mountain pose, let's bring the crown of the head towards the heavens, back of the neck nice and long, chin slightly down. Check your shoulders are down, hands hanging heavy by the sides. Then awareness into the sole of your foot, just check the weight distribution through the feet. Check your ankles that are collapsing inwards or outwards. Hopefully they're right underneath your hip joint itself. Where you'll feel now your leg joint goes into the socket of the pelvis. And the inner parts of the feet are parallel to each other. And let's drop the tongue to the base of the mouth. And drop the jaw a little. And then I'd like you to do chin to chest, and we're just ending with the ragdoll. So the hands begin to slide down the front of the body, engage Mula Bandha, the base lock if you can. Engage the abdominal lock if you can. If you don't know them very well, don't worry about it. So you're going forward into the ragdoll and just breathing once you're down there, thinking, don't lock the knees, keep the knees soft, but do let the shoulders fall towards the floor, crown of the head towards the floor, chin tucked in. It's a very, very soft forward bend. And I'm not going to ask you to come out of it by coming up, because we've been doing that a lot. And actually I want to end with us going down towards the earth. So to finish about now, I want you to think about coming down to seated, just so that you can see me while I explain what we're going to do. And what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to turn so that you're against a wall, if you have a wall or a setting or something, and then you're really close into it like this, and then you just sort of lean back and let your feet go up the wall. Okay, and then you can choose, the hands can be out wide at Maltese cross, shouldn't go towards the chest, or the hands can be palms downwards on the belly or palms upwards at the side like Shavasana, and your legs can either be parallel or they can be wide, depending on what feels right for you. For me, I'm going to do straight up the wall legs. So this one is nice and restorative, especially after the work we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of work through the legs. And whilst you get into the pose and make yourself comfortable, remember you can put a blanket underneath your pelvis. You can even put a couple of blocks on your pelvis so that you're raised up a bit in a traditional restorative pose. And then I'd like you to let the breathing begin to come back to resting breath as you lie there. Check any area of tension. Check those shoulders, jaw, forehead, wherever you know your particular area of tension is. And then, because we're lying upside down, legs upside down, we're not going to continue the breathing sequence we've done last session. We're going to do the easy square breathing because it's easier on you in this position. So I'd like you to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. So continue doing that round square breathing, round of square breathing, over and over. And if you get dizzy or you just lose track of what you're doing, pause, stop, breathe normally, and then start again if you wish. And I would do at least about 15 rounds of that if you can. When you've done at least that many, then just letting go and just resting, letting the breath do what it likes, to gently quieten down. And remember that this legs up the wall pose Viparati Karani is such a wonderfully restoring, rejuvenating pose. Sort of following the expression, oh, I'm really tired, I'm going to put the feet up. We are taking that to its extreme, really, up the wall. And then you've a choice, really, if you're happy staying there. Sometimes you could even be doing this on a sofa with the knees bent and the lower part of the leg just resting parallel to the floor on the sofa. If you're happy staying there, there's no reason why you needn't stay. But if you want to go into Shavasana for the end of the class, I would bend the knees, roll over, and gently come up to kind of kneeling to find your base blanket. So there's several things to do before Shavasana. It's like a to-do list. One is to check all the things that will make you maximum comfortable. Usually means a blanket on your mat to lie on, your eye pillow fairly nearby, your other blanket kind of getting ready for you. If you have bright lights on in the room, which I definitely do have with this daylight lamp, I would turn off bright lights. You can go into darkness. Might work best for you. Okay. So remember Shavasana, feet 2.5 feet apart about. My pillow on, shoulders away from the head. Nice and snug. If you wanted to, you could put your socks on, put a sweater on as well. And then Shavasana, the corpse pose, is about really letting the body just go completely. It's going to just sink into the earth. And we can facilitate that by imagining it's very, very heavy, like liquid molten lead, just dropping away into the earth. And delightfully now, there really is nothing to do, but we don't want to go to sleep necessarily. We're trying to remain aware, but relaxed. So Yoga Nidra means a kind of yogic sleep. The body resting as though it was in deep sleep, but the mind simply resting in a very quiet, unbusy awareness. And there are some tips to facilitate keeping the mind in the present moment. One is to keep aware of the breath and why the body's moving as you breathe. And another very traditional one is to do the body scan. So you can take your awareness to, say, your left little finger, and then feel all the way through that left little finger, and then to your left ring finger, and feel from the tip, the nail, all the way through that left ring finger, and so on and so forth. So that I find is an excellent one. You can start wherever you like in the body. You can simply be aware of both hands if you wanted to, really scanning them in minute detail, so that we don't wander off onto preoccupations, nor fall asleep, hopefully. People quite regularly ask me how long should we do the corpse pose for, and for as long as it takes to have the breathing completely quietened down, almost imperceptible breathing, and then rest there, and also have the body completely drop away and rest there. So I'd say minimum of 10 minutes at the end of a longish yoga session like the one we've done this evening. So you kind of know that you've been in Shavasana long enough when it's almost as though the body's dropped away. And I'm a great fan of this particular pose. It's distinctly restful, restorative, rejuvenating. It allows you to absorb the benefits of your yoga practice. And I really would encourage everybody to do it every day. It's just so much more restful than, say, lying on your side or curled up. It's allowing all the energy points throughout the body to be as in balance as possible. They're not scrunched up. So if you'd like to stay there as I end the class, you're very welcome to do so, because the longer you stay in Shavasana, the better, really. And if you have something else you need to do, you need to get up, then I'd like you to get up slowly by wriggling the fingers and the toes, first of all. If you have an eye pillow on, then remove it. If you have glasses, put the glasses on. And then bring the legs to straight, breathe in. Stretch the arms above the head, back to the hands towards the floor or up towards the ceiling. Toes away from you or towards you. And then you can bend the knees and then roll over and come up. Okay. And if you're staying down, that's fine, please do. Don't make any sudden movements. And I'm just going to chant a Sanskrit chant to end the class. So, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karmal Vahai Tejasvanavaditamastu Ma Vivijavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us both. May he nourish us both. May we be given strength together. May our reflective study of the yoga be illuminated. May there not be any, may there be no enmity between us. Om, peace, peace, peace. So I hope you have a lovely week. Remember to do what practice you can, a little bit. Each day is better than just a long bit once a week. But it was lovely to see you this evening. Okay.